A lot of great horror movies dropped in 2025 and some not so great. Here's a list of my top 10 favorites and some honorable mentions as well as my least favorites. Let's do it. Greetings, ghouls. It's the year-end countdown, and we're going to do the top 10 favorites, my favorites. So the criteria for this was a horror movie, obviously, that I have seen and was my favorite of the year. Now, understand, I didn't see everything. I purposely avoided some of the more heavier themed movies this year, like Bring Her Back. I haven't seen yet. Eventually I will, but the world is just such a heavy place. I tended to keep it more lighthearted in 2025. I tended to go for more fun stuff. Not saying I didn't watch some more heavy stuff, because one of these things on here is a really heavy, kind of depressing movie on my top 10. We'll get to it soon. But overall, I tried to keep it fun. I will also say a lot of it is based on theater experience. I saw most of these in the theater. Not all of them, though. Some of them were not theaters. They were streaming watches at home or here at the studio. All right, let's kick things off with my number 10 favorite horror movie of the year, a Shudder original that was streaming. I did not see this one in the theater. Night of the Reaper. Night of the Reaper is a nostalgic babysitter slasher. It hints at supernatural elements. It's got a great twist, a really good cast, some really solid writing. It's not perfect. I had some questions watching it, but overall, I had a blast with Night of the Reaper on Shudder, making my number 10 favorite horror 2025. Check it out if you have Shudder, AMC Plus, and you could probably rent it on Amazon and some of the other streaming outlets. But a lot of fun. Let me know what you thought if you have seen Night of the Reaper, of course. Number 9 is a movie that I was really looking forward to, and it did not disappoint. Queens of the Dead by Tina Romero. Yes, George Romero's daughter paid homage to her father by creating an updated version of Night of the Living Dead. This is set in a modern warehouse kind of fashion district with, the drag lifestyle. It's a drag show. It is very LGBTQ plus friendly, and this was one of the things that I loved about it as well. There are heterosexual characters in the movie that could have easily been punching bags, but instead they are written well, like real people who, when confronted in situations, get to know the other person. They don't just blindly hate or blindly work off stereotypes. People are real. And that's the way I felt that a lot of the characters in Queens of the Dead were written. I really appreciated Tina's approach to this and the way there were so many parallels. And I don't have time to break it down because I'm trying to do this review quick. But if you watch it and you think about the parallels to how Queens of the Dead plays out, it is just like Night of the Living Dead almost, with the basic storyline. You are just updating it and giving it the kind of drag queen, nightlife, nightclub, club kid backdrop. And it works really well. Again, not a perfect movie, but there was so much good in there that it kind of negated some of the bad stuff. There were some pacing issues, but overall, excellent, and I loved it. So Queens of the Dead, Tina Romero, my number 9 favorite horror movie of 2025. Jump into number 8, and I wondered about this one, whether it was horror, so I kind of did some Googling and looked some stuff up, and most places look at it as fantasy horror. The 2025 remake of Deathstalker by our friend Steven Kostanski, creator of Psycho Gorman, who I have here on my arm, is my number 8 favorite horror movie of 2025. Now, Deathstalker I saw in the theater. It was very limited, and I had to drive about an hour, I think, to get to where it was playing, but it was totally worth it. I absolutely loved it. I'm a child of the 80s, so I grew up and I watched the Deathstalker movies growing up, and I loved the Deathstalker movies growing up. And going back and watching them, they don't hold up as well. They're very problematic, obviously, for reasons we won't get into, but this one was so good. Again, there's a couple remakes on my list here, and this was such a good remake. The practical effects, that's what Stephen Kostanski's known for, delivers 100%. The creatures in this are amazing. The puppets, all the effects are amazing. There's a ton of blood and gore in the fight scenes. So yeah, Deathstalker 2025 qualifies as horror in my book, and it's my number 8 favorite horror movie of the year. Number 7, Osgood Perkins released The Monkey. And I didn't see The Monkey in the theaters, and I'm disappointed because when I watched it finally streaming, I absolutely loved it. The Monkey is a blast. It is well written, well acted, well paced. It was like Final Destination. And this came before we got the Final Destination movie. So it was like we got 2 Final Destination movies this year. If you haven't seen it, I absolutely recommend seeing this one. Ton of fun, great practical effects, and yeah, great story, well written. Osgood Perkins. I look forward to more. I have to watch Keeper. I haven't watched that one. Seems to be a little heavier, and I know people have it on their top 10 list. I have not watched it yet. I probably won't get to it till the new year, so it's not going to make my list. But The Monkey is. Great movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. Number 6, saw in the theater, and this is one of the heavier movies that I watched this year, and I don't know what I was expecting going in. I'm going to say number 6 is Good Boy. And I absolutely love this movie. I love the concept of it. I love the idea of the, from the point of view of the dog. Like the director has said, we all see our pets looking in the corner at nothing in wonder. So this is kind of, was kind of taking that and making a movie out of it. And it is pretty bleak and depressing. I get sad just thinking about it right now. Amazing work. It took him 3 years to complete. Indy, the canine star of the film, did an amazing job. He's up for awards now. Hopefully he wins some awards for leading actor, best actor in a role or something. So he's got to get an award somewhere. Great movie, but go in with the tissues nearby. It's pretty sad. It's pretty bleak. There are questions. Again, it's not perfect. It's an independent movie. Indy's owner was also the director, and he's in the movie with Indy, and him and his wife made this movie in their house over the course of 3 years with their own dog. That alone is worthy of praise. But to do such a great job and to make such a great movie on top of it, it just turned out so great. So Good Boy, number 6 on my list. Top 5. Here we go. Number 5, definitely one of the best times I had in the theater this year, absolutely hands down, was Final Destination Bloodlines. And it's my number 5 favorite horror movie of 2025. It was so good. From the giant set pieces, the creative kills, the characters were well written. It's a Final Destination movie, so certain things have to fall into place. You've got to suspend disbelief a little more than maybe some of these other movies on here, but we knew that going in. You don't go into a Final Destination movie and expect it to not kind of line up like that. So that being said, I thought it delivered 100% on the franchise, especially after such a break. And it also gave us a goodbye with an icon, a legend of horror, Tony Todd. Final Destination Bloodlines has to make, I would think, most people's top 10s. It's definitely on mine, number 5. We're going to have some surprises here soon, so I might as well surprise you next, because a lot of people have this one as number 1 on their list. And again, as a movie, it might be the technically most sound film overall out of all these. But this is, again, personal taste and theater enjoyment, personal favorites. So that being said, my number 4 is going to be Sinners. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved Sinners. But what probably knocked it a little further down on than a couple of these was I did not see it in the theater. Also, it is very derivative of another movie that is a favorite of mine. That's probably why I kind of avoided it. I didn't realize the music played as big a part in it when it was in the theaters until people started reviewing it and talking about it. And then it was at theaters and it was on demand. And that's where I wound up watching it. And when I watched it there, I loved it, but I did not have the same experience that I would have had in the theater and the same experience that I had with some of these other films that are on my list in the theater. So it's probably my fault that Sinners is a little lower on the list, But again, it's a little derivative of Dusk Till Dawn, but it takes that music aspect, and this was what like really blew me away. The music was so good, the acting outstanding. The writing was solid, but the music being incorporated and the way they worked it in and the way it played its role in there and through certain scenes, just an amazing job. So Sinners, outstanding movie. Moving on. Number 3, lucky number 3. 3 is the magic number, and this is probably going to be a surprise for a lot of people. My number 3 favorite horror movie of the year just came out recently, and I saw it in a theater twice. It was so good I had to go back a second time and take staph infection because the first time I went and saw it, I did not realize it was a date movie. So I went back with staph infection, and we saw Silent Night, Deadly Night, the remake, in theaters, and it was so good. It was just as good the second time as it was the first. And I don't know if I even watched the trailers. I tend to not watch trailers so much these days because they give too much away. And I don't think I watched the trailer. I knew I was going to see it. Christmas slasher, I'm in. Remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, I'm in. So I was not expected for what Mike P. Nelson was going to give us, though. There is so much more to this than just a remake, and it still stays true to the original. It does such a good job of staying true to the original, but also adding on to the lore and creating, number 1, an awesome date movie, and number 2, I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to say too much more, but it gives you a great story. There's a supernatural elements of it to it that are added, and the love story and everything in there. Rowan Campbell does a great job playing Billy. It's not over the top bloody, like I think some people saw the producers of Terrifier attached and were expecting more gratuitous blood and stuff, but there is a lot of killing. It's just not as graphic as maybe people expected, but it's still a ton of fun, and there is one 7-minute scene in there that is so gratifying for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of other people that saw it. It was so gratifying, that one scene. Chef's kiss. Mike P. Nelson, great fucking job. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2025, my number 3 favorite horror movie of the year. Up to the top 2. This one also was very high on most people's lists, rightfully so. I did have one big question with this one, but the rest of the movie was just so damn good, and I saw it in a theater again, so it was just a packed theater, I might add. An awesome experience. Number 2 horror movie of the year for me was Weapons. Supernatural, crazy, out there, well acted, well directed, well written, mostly, for the most part. The writing is the one part that I had a qualm with, and I won't get into that. I have videos floating somewhere. If you want to see my one problem with Weapons, you can find a video somewhere on my page on social medias. There was just so much good in this movie, and that ending, oh my God. And you get the villain of Gladys. Just so much good stuff. Weapons 2025, my number 2 favorite horror movie of the year. Before I do my number 1, I'm going to give you a couple honorable mentions, or didn't mentions. So I will give you this. Why didn't Frankenstein make the list? Oh man, while it was gorgeous, while it was well acted, while it looked fantastic, the story was so off for me. Off from the source material, off from anything else we've ever seen in the Frankenstein movie before, and off from making sense a lot of the time. Like, why didn't somebody put a shirt on him at some point before 90 minutes into the movie? But I digress. It was just too slow. Guillermo del Toro, do your thing, but the monster love thing, monster fucking. That's what I get it, dude. You're into monster fucking. I get it. But we don't need 2 hours of fucking build up in romance and plotting pacing to get to that. And just make some monster porn if you want to, GDT. Damn. Frankenstein, while it looked great and was outstandingly acted. I felt that the story itself was slow, boring, didn't make sense, and strayed too far from the source material for me. Also, I feel like they were just kind of showing off Jacob Elordi as, hey, check out the sexy monster, because that's what Hollywood does now with guys like Ed Gein and Charlie Hunnam, and you know, that's the new cool thing, is put the sexy guy in as the crazy monster. I had to sit 3 times, I think. I fell asleep watching it, so it did not make my top 10 list. Sorry. I know everybody loved it. I'm sorry. Go ahead and drop your hate in the comments. Go ahead. Defend it. Defend why nobody put a shirt on him for fucking 90 minutes of the movie. All right, moving on. The Toxic Avenger remake did not make my list either, because I didn't even watch it. I'll be honest, man. My feelings on a Hollywood remake of The Toxic Avenger is I knew it wasn't going to be good. I love Lloyd. I love the original Toxic Avenger. I love Trauma. I have worked with Trauma. Again, that would be a reason, but this isn't a Trauma movie. So technically, since it is a Trauma, it's not a Trauma movie, I could have put it on the list. I didn't work on it, and it's not associated with Lloyd really, aside from he's the original creator. But I didn't even watch it because I don't want my memories of Toxie tarnished. It's that simple. I don't know if I'm ever going to watch it. I don't know if I can bring myself to watch it. Don't hate me. If you dug it, cool. People can like stuff. I am not saying to hate it. For me personally, though, I grew up on the original Toxie. I saw the original Toxie when I was a little kid. So I just can't bring myself to, especially after hearing some of the reviews and some of the changes, again, taking liberties with the source material. Not a fan. So yes, Toxic Avenger did not make my top 10 list of 2025. Sorry, Lloyd. But I know it wasn't you that made it. I already discussed The Fetus. I worked on that one, so I didn't want to include it, but definitely an honorable mention. Watch The Fetus. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Honorable mention that didn't make my list. I really enjoyed it. Saw it in the theater. Megan 2.0. It just wasn't very horror for me. It was kind of like... It was definitely like Terminator 2 to Megan's Terminator, but it was even less horror than Terminator 2. It was very much like a sci-fi action movie, and I appreciated it and I loved it, but I had a really hard time doing the mental gymnastics to put it in a top 10 horror movies list. Even though Megan's a horror icon now, I get it. The movie itself was really a sci-fi action movie. So loved Megan 2.0, did not make my top 10 horror movies of 2025. One other one I'll mention real quick. Didn't quite make the cut, but I really dug Coyotes, and I always love a good Justin Long movie, and usually my lists will have a Justin Long movie on them, but he didn't make my top 10 list anywhere this year, so I have to do an honorable mention for Justin Long and Coyotes. It was a fun movie, kind of like Nature Gone Bad, reminiscent of recently Cocaine Bear without the cocaine, and some of like the old school like 70s like Grizzly, stuff like that, like the old Nature Gone Bad horror films. Yes, the coyotes are CGI. They're not the greatest, but they're also not the worst. They weren't terrible. They were good enough. Justin Long, Kate Bosworth, decent acting, some fun dark humor in there. So definitely giving a honorable mention to Coyotes. Check that one out, streaming now. Without further delay, I'm going to give you my number one horror movie of 2025. And I said it when it came out, and I said it when I saw it back in February that it was going to be it. And I was really skeptical if anything could take it down. But there was a lot that really was good, and I thought some of these would. But at the end of it all, Heart Eyes still holds my heart for 2025. My favorite horror movie of the year. It was the perfect blend of 2000s slasher mixed with like a Lifetime rom-com. The movie itself, it keeps you guessing. It's very well written. It's very well paced. They play on a lot of the tropes of rom-coms and date movies, the meet cutes and all that kind of stuff. It's all in there. And they also work in some great kills, bloody kills, lots of tension, high stakes. It was so much fun. And a date movie. It definitely was like Scream meets When Harry Met Sally. And the Hard Eyes Killer, the mask, like the design of the mask, super cool, super creepy, just a ton of fun. So Heart Eyes, My number one, it jumped there in February and it held all year long, surprisingly. And it had some competition because I really did love a lot of these other movies on the list here. But Hard Eyes held its own and is my favorite horror movie of the year. There you have it, folks. Those are my top 10. Night of the Reaper, Queens of the Dead, Death Stalker, The Monkey, Good Boy, Final Destination, Sinners, Silent Night, Weapons, and Hard Eyes. Silent Night, Deadly Night, I should say, and Hard Eyes. A couple of my least favorites I will give you now. I won't say Frankenstein was a least favorite. I was just very disappointed in how slow and much I did not like Frankenstein. I absolutely hated Wolfman. Oh my God, what a piece of shit. What an absolute steaming pile of dog shit Wolfman turned out to be. Absolutely hated it. Just as soon, and I knew I was going to, as soon as they announced that they were doing away with all the supernatural aspect of it, and it's a virus, and trauma, virus, blah, 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 family, whatever, man. I literally could not have aggressively hated that movie any fucking more. What a steaming pile of shit. And right behind it, a close second, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh my God. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the reveal, awful. Just fucking awful. Just awful. If you're a fan, I went in, I mean, I should have known better, but I was a fan of the originals, so I wanted this one to be good, and I knew that they were having cameos from Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. They all came back to reprise roles, and Sarah Michelle Gellar's cameo was the only one that was good, and the only one worth watching. And it had absolutely like no influence on the plot whatsoever. Could have just totally shoehorned in there just to give Sarah Michelle Gellar a cameo in the movie. It had nothing to do with the rest of the plot. But that was like the best part of the movie and the best cameo. Jennifer Love Hewitt was totally useless throughout the whole movie. And Freddie Prinze Jr. They did my boy wrong. They just did him wrong. It was just awful. Just awful, awful. Hateful. I get mad just thinking about it. Wolfman and I Know What You Did Last Summer. My two most hated movies of 2025. The two absolute stinkers. So, all right, there you have it. Let me know your thoughts, comments. Tell me why I'm crazy. Tell me what I missed. I will catch up on some of the other ones. I know there's a bunch of them out there that I have not watched yet and that are making other people's lists. But yeah, I was going for more fun stuff this year. Please make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all that good social media stuff, and tune back in. I'm going to get back at it in the new year, do more video reviews, more video content, and Amityville Barbie, more coming soon. So stay tuned and stay spooky.